Hello and welcome to the Cowboy Chronicles, the Oklahoma's Oklahoma State football podcast. I am your host, Scott Wright, joined by Jacob Unruh, once again here at Stone Cloud on a Tuesday night, having a blast. It's a hopping place tonight,
It's
Jacob.
busy. They got a food truck out
Right?
here. They've got live music. They've got beer,
They do
which
have
they
beer.
always have.
Yes.
But so yeah, it's really happening here tonight.
Right, exactly. I told the people on Twitter, come out here, pretend like you're here for us.
Yeah.
But you can just enjoy the food and the beer and
Yeah.
have a blast. So great to be back at our regular Tuesday night location. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about Oklahoma State's 36-25 victory over Baylor. Look ahead to Texas Tech next week. Let you in behind the scenes on our visit with the players earlier tonight after practice. Lots of stuff to talk about. So, of course, we want to remind people always to subscribe to the Oklahoma State newsletter, the Oklahoma State Cowboys Minute, Sports Minute. So go check that out and make sure you're subscribing there. Make sure you're taking care of the good folks here at Stone Cloud. Come out and visit them. Listen, if you're whether you like craft beer or not, they've got options for stuff
Yes.
that if you're not a big explorative craft beer drinker, they've got good stuff that you'll enjoy. It's a really cool place and a food truck here tonight. So if you're listening to this on Wednesday, sorry you missed out on.
You missed on the barbecue truck that's here.
Yeah.
We're not going to miss out on it.
Oh no,
But
oh, no.
you
It's-
will. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in. You've is this a Diet Coke that Mike Gundy mixed for you?
Yeah,
here?
I went the inspirational of. Is it Mike Gundy or Joe DeForest? Who's the
Oh, right.
inspiration here?
Joe DeForest is the
So,
original inspiration.
This is not a Diet Coke.
No,
At
no,
all. This
no.
is a night, a Stone Cloud night. They have a light and a night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is their dark lager.
Mhm.
It's actually really good. I had never had it. It's been around a while, but I had never had it. And I'm in a lager mood. I think it's the fall, so maybe a lager kind
Makes
of hits
sense.
a little bit differently.
Makes
but yeah,
sense.
it was good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. This is not my beer. This is Evan Troy's beer. He won last week.
That's
He
true.
picked the closest
That's
score
true.
on the in the comments section. 38-24 was his prediction. 36-25 obviously was the final score. So Evan Troy, this is your beer, and I am really going to enjoy it. So next week, after you watch this video, go down in the comments on YouTube there. Leave your score in the comments section, and if you're closest, you win a free beer that one of us will drink for you
Yes.
next week.
We'll
So,
take care of it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to enjoy Evan's beer here. He went with a Classique tonight.
Classique. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good choice, Evan. Good
It
job.
is. It's a reliable option from the folks here
Very
at Stone
classic if you want to go with
If
the
you,
English pronunciation.
Yeah, exactly. So Classique is what I'm looking forward to enjoying here tonight. All right, let's look back at the Baylor win. Obviously, for our podcast listeners, they know the technical difficulties that we battled through
Yeah.
after the game.
Listen, we're not old. I don't understand this.
No, it makes no
we've
sense.
got to figure this out.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll,
going on Twitter
we'll be
Spaces
better.
tomorrow night on Wednesday with the Texas Tech crew
Right.
and the Lubbock paper with Don and Carlos. Maybe I can learn a thing or two from them.
Maybe so. You can ask Don about his AP top 25.
Well,
if you like.
yeah, that's on the agenda. So tune into that tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Wednesday when this comes out, tomorrow evening, or I think around 6 o'clock, I'm supposed to be on Twitter Spaces talking OSU Texas Tech.
There you go. All right, big game coming up. But we
Sister
do wanna-
paper.
That's right.
So-
A sister paper of ours out there in Lubbock. So that'll be good. Real quick, look back at Baylor. Nothing's really changed. We covered it pretty well. Lots of big individual plays, lots of really big team moments. Just all around a very positive building block for this team, I think, for the future, Jacob.
Yeah, they already had confidence. They never lacked that, but they gained more confidence, particularly in the run game, in the short game. Spencer Sanders, the secondary, I think, even gained a little confidence. It didn't look great at times. And now, as Brendan Evers said tonight, with blood running down his face, which we'll get more into that, said tonight, they feel like the Big 12 runs through Stillwater now.
Yeah.
And so they went out and I think proved that with their first game. And so it's a matter of them keeping to prove it from here, but I think they took that first step.
And I got asked this question in a radio interview earlier this week, but I'll pose it to you before I get into what my answer was. But how do you avoid a letdown after such a big win that had a lot of sort of exterior stakes involved?
You can't have a letdown in the Big 12. I think it's how
Right.
you avoid it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not this idea that you play a big game and then you get a couple weeks off with a Kansas and a bad Texas Tech or a Kansas and a bad West Virginia. There is not really a bad team right now. And so I think they keep the foot on the gas that way. And as Evers again alluded to it, there's not a 21 banner hanging in that practice center right now, and that really annoys him and others. And so I think that they just are so motivated to go prove last year wasn't a fluke and that they could take that next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's guys like Evers that hold this team together. Brock Martin, guys that have been around, been through the difficult times that they saw earlier in their careers, and now been this close to the Big 12 mountaintop at least. And I think that those are the guys that you rely on this week to keep this team focused, not only coming off of the Baylor win, going into Texas Tech, but throughout the Big 12 schedule. I think the leadership of those guys is critical to this team, but especially in a week like this when you've got so much emotion tied to the game from a week ago. So I think that's going to be really big. You alluded to Evers. I did not get a chance to visit with him. I really want to hear the story about the blood running down his face.
I didn't really get a true story. So we walk up to Evers. He's been there for a little while. I walk up, and he's got blood like split like right here, and just blood just run down his nose, and it's dried. He didn't clean it up. It looked pretty badass if you're
right.
He said he looked like J.J. Watt. He said he feels like he's J.J. Watt. And then he talked about, I guess, people comment all the time on Instagram posts from OSU that he looks asking if that's J.J. Watt already. So now he feels even more. And then he says girlfriend has a crush on J.J. Watt, and we kind of dropped the conversation from there.
That's fair.
It got a little weird. But apparently he said it's a Tuesday workout, man. He said it's a Tuesday workout. And I was like, I don't want to know what Tuesday workout is, but he said he's probably going to keep splitting from here, too. Like, it's probably not going to heal.
Right. Won't have time to heal at this point.
So that was pretty fascinating itself. But I walked up, I was like, man. So, when maybe they're having intense workouts on Tuesdays. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But Evers is going full J.J. Watt out there, and maybe he shows up that way on Saturday with blood already running down his face in pregame and steps across one of the Monroe Mules or something at Texas Tech and says, hey, man, what's up? And they're like, So he's a crazy man. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's at this point, I'm halfway convinced he's just cutting it himself before.
He might be.
He just going.
He's got a little razor in his glove, and
right?
he kind of
just slices it.
Yeah.
Old WWE trick from the old days. Yeah, something like that. I can see Brandon doing that.
Yeah.
He is a crazy dude, but a fun guy and playing really well.
Yeah.
Really important to what this defense is doing up front. Mike Gundy talked on Monday about kind of the lack of pass rush that they've had this year. Doesn't feel to me like they've been asking linebackers and safeties to help out a whole lot in that. I don't think they've shown their full creative mode.
No.
In what they can do with getting quarterback pressure. I think a lot of times they feel good enough about what they've got on the defensive line.
Yeah.
They feel they can rush 3, rush 4.
Yeah.
And keep things contained. Texas Tech could be a little bit of a different animal. Donovan Smith can move a little bit, very big and physical guy, and they're throwing the ball like crazy.
Yeah, and I think Evers talked about – I asked Evers, I said, are teams just throwing the ball faster? They just getting rid of the ball quicker just to kind of neutralize it? He said definitely non-conference. He said Baylor, not really. He said Baylor is just so creative and does so many different things that, they did what they do. And so I think Tech's going to be the same way. But I think you're right. They got to dial up a little bit more just to get Donovan Wilson. They did last year.
Yeah.
And so I think Donovan Smith, sorry. And you get that pressure. Xavier Benson or Mason Cobb coming a little bit more. Maybe Jason Taylor coming off the edge on a delayed blitz, something like that. I think you can really do some things that cause some problems and kind of make things interesting. But, yeah, I think we haven't seen this full arsenal yet.
No.
And I saw David Aranda brought up on the goal line play where they got the safety that it was the first time they had seen that formation OSU used. I think that was the personnel that they used.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it was because he talked about it was all defensive ends out there. We've seen that before.
Seen that, yeah.
But maybe he was talking something different that I didn't pick up on.
Right, yeah. That's interesting. Now I want to go back and watch that play. Now, I retweeted this video. It's been circulating a little bit on the internet of right before Oklahoma State's safety. Did you get a chance to watch
I've seen that, yeah.
It's pretty wild. They're coming to the line, camera from behind the end zone. You see Siaki Ika clapping and then waving them on, giving them a bring it on kind of a sign there. And then they sneak it right in his face, which was
Evers talked about how impressed he was with the offensive line doing that.
Yeah.
He didn't know it was Ika, and I said it was Ika, and he said, oh. he's a really good player, so that's really cool. And so
Yeah.
so that meant a lot, I think, to both sides of the ball to see the offensive line do what it did there.
Yeah. Really, I think I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, but I think the short yardage thing is going to be something that comes up. You don't realize how often you need to go out and line up and get 1 yard. And now that they've got this confidence to do it, I think this is going to be something that they feel a lot more comfortable with going down the stretch. I think it's going to play – I think it's going to be the biggest takeaway. When we look back in December, we're going to look back at that moment as being something that really started something important for this team.
I mean, think about it. If I'm not saying OSU's going to the playoff right now by any means. We're super early. We're a month away or so, if not more, from the playoff rankings even starting. But if they get against a team like an Alabama or a Georgia, they've got to have that ability to go down short yardage situations. Yeah. And so I think if they get in that scenario where they're in these big-time games, they can look back and say, this is where we figured it out.
All right. So you heard it here first. Jacob predicting playoff appearance for Oklahoma State.
Don't go on my bets. I'm still not doing very well in the picks, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man. All right. Well, before we move on, anything else from the Baylor game? Like I said, we covered a lot in our post-game podcast, so I don't know if there's anything.
I think it's good. We did get to talk to Tom Hutton, the hero of the game, so we'll talk more about what we talked with Tom Hutton.
Yes,
but we got to talk to Tom Hutton, the hero of the game. He does get credit with the 2 points on the safety.
Oh, yeah, he's taking credit for that.
He's totally taking credit. So, yeah, we'll talk more about the players.
Yeah. All right, well, let's actually just jump in right there. We got to talk to Brennan Evers, obviously, Tom Hutton. We also had Mason Cobb, Bryson Green, and Caleb Etienne.
Yeah.
A really fun group, and a lot of guys that were interesting to talk to. You mentioned Tom Hutton is taking credit for the safety.
Absolutely should, too.
Even though he was not pleased with himself.
No, he didn't like the punt.
I was surprised
surprised me.
by that.
It
Yeah.
really surprised. He said he thought it was going to take a bad bounce and go backwards, which was not helpful. And he said he wanted to kick it deeper, right? Is that what he said? Like he wanted it deeper, and then it took the nice roll that he needed, but it wasn't what he was aiming to do. And so he didn't even watch the play after.
Basically, he's saying his goal is to fly it directly into Braylon Presley's hands at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
In the exact corner of the field. Yeah.
Which I don't know would have worked.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know that Braylon was down there fast enough to do that.
No, it worked out perfectly the way that it happened.
But
interesting odd fact that he talked about later. He got asked about the new turf at Oklahoma State.
Oh, I missed that.
He says that he feels like his ball bounces backwards more often on the new turf than it did on the previous turf. This turf's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
He feels like the ball bounces backwards. I have no idea if that's legit or not, but I found it fascinating.
Yeah,
so,
that's very interesting. He didn't even see the safety that he earned.
No, he did not. He was so disappointed with himself. Completely missed it.
Yeah.
Didn't get the chance to go celebrate with the guys.
Which is sad. Maybe he needs to get another one.
Yeah, he does. That's the answer.
He's also not happy that people are returning the ball more on him, which I think he said the wind's a factor a little bit, but I think his leg strength's getting him a little bit. He's still adjusting to the new fact he's a little stronger as a punter.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Gundy talked to us about this after yesterday's interview session. The last punt of the day, he says over 5-second hang time, 48-yard punt. That's pretty solid, and that's not something you see a lot from Tom. No. He's a 42-yard guy.
Yeah,
and that was pretty impressive. And Gundy applauded his ability to get that punt off quickly, which is something that was new to Tom when he arrived here 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, most interesting thing, and maybe not the most interesting, but Tom talked about the fact that he has absolutely decided he's not coming back for a super senior year. He's done. Once he gets his degree, he and his wife are heading back to Australia.
Not even going to try the NFL.
No, not interested. Ready to go.
They'll take old punters. I don't understand why he's not interested. They will take old guys that can punt.
He's honestly, it sounds like he's homesick.
Okay, that's
sounds
fair.
like he wants to go back to Australia and get back home, start having kids, and move on with his life in construction. That's what his degree is in.
Yeah.
And obviously he has some hands-on experience from his days prior to coming to Oklahoma State in the construction field. Wants to move on with his life and ready to get it done. So, and of course Oklahoma State already has their next Aussie punter already lined up. He's only 21, but at least he'll be like 25 by the time he's done. So we can still make some jokes.
I've never covered an OSU punter not named Tom Hutton.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. 2019 was his first year, right?
That
was my first year on the beat.
Yep.
I've never covered an OSU punter not named Tom Hutton.
Yeah. And next
I
year
won't know what to do.
You'll be able to at least say you haven't covered an OSU punter that's not from Australia.
That's true. Yeah. I won't know what to do without Tom Hutton around.
Right. Who else did you get to visit with during?
I
during the
visited
day?
Caleb Etienne for
Right.
a little while. That was interesting. He talked about he feels faster and stronger than he did when he first got here, and a little more comfortable. He likes what he's doing. Talked about his baby boy a little bit, Caleb Jr. Talked about him, but I went ahead and asked him because a few weeks back we talked to Preston Wilson about his diet and what he does. And I asked him, what's your diet like? He said, I don't really have a diet. He said, I might eat a salad once a week. I was like, no, not an actual diet.
Right.
So if you're curious, Caleb Etienne eats a salad maybe once a week, but he said he eats pretty much whatever he wants. He says he's kind of cut back on the heavy amount of junk that he used to have in junior college when he got really big.
Right.
He said, but he still eats McDonald's and large pizzas and everything like that all the time, which I thought was just fascinating.
Yeah, it is, because obviously he's lost 40 to 50 pounds, somewhere in that range. But at the same time, now, as hard as they're working, as fast as they're going in offensively and pace, I mean, he's burning off a lot of calories throughout the week. So just maintaining at 320, 325, whatever he's at now, is a lot of work.
Yeah. No, I think he's doing well. He seems to be happy with what he's doing.
Right.
But apparently there's no strategy to it.
Yeah.
Just eat.
There you go.
Which is my strategy in life.
Right.
Just
it
eat.
is. Yeah.
So
I'm definitely in life. If I could be trying to maintain at 320, I'd be in good shape right now. That would be my diet too. All right. I got to talk to Mason Cobb.
Yeah.
Talked a lot about the fourth down play, which was a lot of fun. Said he realized he didn't realize the level of blocking and how weird it looked, how impossible it looked that he actually squirted through there.
Oh yeah.
He said the fullback missed him. Then he had the tackle who had looped around the tight end that was trying to get on him. He said that was probably the hardest part. Then he made the tackle, and he had no idea whether the guy got in the first down or not. So he had to wait before he could celebrate. He wasn't even sure if he had accomplished the goal. So I'm really enjoying getting to know him because he is a neat dude. One of the team barbers.
Really?
Yeah. Been cutting hair since he was a freshman in high school.
Wow.
Started doing it. Said he jacked up his little brother's hair on multiple occasions. And,
Poor little bro.
And just had to shave it all off more than once. So
Sounds like my haircut styles. If I got a hold of some clippers for some people, it would not go well.
Right. But he also cuts his own, and he looked pretty nice today.
Wow.
So,
okay.
That's not easy.
No, that is not easy at all.
Give him some credit for that. But he's one of 7 siblings.
Yeah.
He's nobody else in his family has been in college as long as he has at this point, and so it's a really big deal that he's here and doing this. And obviously with that many siblings, some of them being out of the house and older, not everybody can make it back all the time, and so they kind of pop in and pop out. But gets to see his family come in from Utah on regular occasions. His parents definitely they're pretty much always here. So his dad just recently got a job at an airport, so he gets to fly out.
Nice.
Make it a little bit easier. So gets to come watch the kiddo play. So that's an exciting thing, and gonna be diving into his family life and his background a little bit more in the coming weeks here as he's emerging as a very important player in this defense.
Which is good because Brandon Evers talked about Mason and how when Evers and guys like that leave after this season, he feels like Mason's going to be the next guy, and he's going to carry on what they've started to make it better.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And I hate to bring up the Malcolm Rodriguez comparison.
He looked like Malcolm on that play.
There's definitely some Malcolm Rodriguez in this guy.
Yeah.
And
which it's hard. It's easy to understand. I mean, he just was. I don't want to say studied under Malcolm, but he studied under Malcolm for a few seasons here now, and and they thought he was ready to step into it. He really is.
Yeah, he is. He's done incredibly well. We did not talk to Xavier Benson. He's off limits.
Yes.
But this is a very interesting game for him coming up.
Yeah, he played at Texas Tech obviously a few years ago. Went to junior college during the pandemic, right? I'm trying to get the timeline right in my head, and then now he's here. And he's coming off probably his best game as a Cowboy.
I would say so.
So now he gets a chance to play his old team. I don't know how many people he actually knows on the team at this point.
Right.
I can't imagine a ton, but he knows some. So that'll be interesting to see how he kind of maybe holds his emotions a little bit and see what he can do. But I think he's feels pretty good about where he's at right now.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, lots of turnover since he was there.
Yeah.
New coaching staff and portal movement and all sorts of things. I mean, for reference, the year that he was starting, he started 10 games as a redshirt freshman. 2019, he was tackling Chuba Hubbard last time they played each other.
That's
so,
true.
That kind of gives you a reference point for how long it's been since he was at Tech. He stayed there in 20, but opted out. But I don't know how much he was actually even involved. If you opt out, I don't know what that.
I don't know what that
like.
involved back then. It probably depends on what team you were on.
Right, exactly. But yeah, you're right. Baylor was probably his best game of the year, and with he and Cobb both on the incline in terms of performance right now. I think that's really important. Not quite as important this week because Tech is going to throw the ball around a ton.
Yes,
but long term, really important to see the linebackers making the strides that we kind of thought they could.
Yeah.
But to see it actually happening is going to be really important for these guys long term, I think.
Yeah, and it's taking pressure off the secondary a little bit,
right,
to have these guys, because the secondary is still where my concern lies on this defense. But they're growing faster than I thought with Benson and Cobb. I didn't expect that fast of a development, but here they are. And OSU has to be pleased.
Yeah, I really think so. The secondary it's less steady than I expected, but you've got, you think about it, Kendall Daniels was very impactful. He was all over the place. He was coming up. They used him on a blitz a couple of times. He was in run coverage and does really well when he's in that situation. In pass coverage, plenty, obviously. So he was really impactful. Jason Taylor has the huge pick at the end. Thomas Harper has an interception and a bunch of tackles. So these guys are making plays just across the board. It's still I don't want to compare it to last year.
No,
that's unfair.
It is unfair.
But their consistency is not quite where I thought it might be at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's a little inconsistent. It feels like that's the part that's bending and not breaking as much as the front guys. And so that's where the concern to me is like you feel like at any moment they could really break and it's a problem. Like the fourth down play.
Right.
Where the 70-yard touchdown Baylor had, but that was also a miscommunication with the coaching staff at that point too. So that concerns me, but so we'll see this week. This week feels like the biggest test for the secondary yet. I thought last week was, but now the way Tech throws the ball more than Baylor does, I'm a little more interested to see what happens here.
Right. You alluded to the fourth down play that turned into a 70-yard touchdown, 4th and 4. Explain that, because I thought that was one of the most fascinating revelations that came out of our post-game interviews with everybody. Mike Gundy talking about his involvement in that play.
Yeah, so Gundy, I guess, in the last second saw something and told Mason, you got to check, you got to change this play, you got to do this. And at that point, it was essentially too late. Like, they didn't say, he's like, it was late, but it was late, but wasn't too late, but it was. He kind of bounced back and forth, but essentially the communication didn't get to the players in time that they could adjust, and they got burned. And Jason Taylor confirmed it after the game. That's what happened. They got the call late. They couldn't adjust, and it allowed Benson to be stuck in coverage with a fast receiver that he couldn't keep up with, and it burned him. And, things like that will happen, especially with the new coaching staff, with the new defensive coordinator. I think that's going to happen. I don't want to put this on Jim Knowles leaving, but I don't think it would have happened last year with Knowles and with the veteran secondary.
Right.
Someone would have saw it a little faster, I think, on that end. But as Gundy said, too, this is also what he gets for getting involved with defense.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Let Derek Mason handle the defensive calls, and you'll be just fine. All right. Is there anybody? I talked to Bryson.
I talked to him a little bit.
No, he is so much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
He's got a great personality. He and Blaine are both great. We haven't got to talk to Blaine in forever because he's been injured. Sound like Blaine's doing okay, coming along, itching to get back on the field. But Bryson, have anything interesting to say while you were around?
I talked to him about jump balls and how much he feels like he's improved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said Rob Glass is a big reason why, and he treats it like a basketball rebound, which I thought was interesting. You got to get at the high point.
Yeah.
That's kind of – I was pretty quick with him, but that's kind of where I focused a little bit, just where he saw his biggest improvements with that, because he's catching more jump balls than he normally would have last year.
The best thing that I got from Bryson Green, and it wasn't my question, I'm not taking credit for that, but he got asked the biggest benefit to having your twin brother on the team with you at the
Did
Division One
one of
level.
the twins from the O'Colly ask that?
It was not. I was surprised. It was not one of the twins.
Seems like a good question for them.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Biggest benefit? Share a car. Split the gas money.
There you go.
You're
Yeah,
always going
you
to the
see
same
one
place
car.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
so
smart.
it works out.
Very-
Half the gas money.
Very economical
Right.
decision,
Yeah.
especially in these times.
Yeah.
Very economical.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Right. It's really really well played. Bryson, though, like I said, I love talking to that dude. I wrote a story about him already, so none of those quotes will be in the story that I wrote that's online today. You can go check that out. But a lot of people had some really good things to say about him. His journey just over his entire career fascinates me, and maybe it fascinates me more than it should. I just love it because like you see all these roadblocks that have never slowed him down. He enrolls early, but he's got a shoulder injury, has to get surgery, and misses all of spring. So enrolling early does him no benefit at all, other than he's just he's in meetings and things, but he's not out on the field doing anything. Comes into the season opener his freshman year. He's the number 2 guy on opening day, but Langston Anderson goes and breaks his foot in pregame warmups, and obviously he doesn't want it to happen that way.
Yeah.
But he ends up being a starter
Right,
in the season opener. Ends up being a regular starter throughout the season, other than a couple of injury issues that he dealt with, and was a meaningful guy. They had so many different guys involved last year. Nobody put up a ton of great stats other than Tay Martin, but he benefited from being on the field. When had Langston Anderson been healthy, he might not have had that opportunity. Anyway, goes into his sophomore year. He's the number 2 guy in late August, and Jaden Bray has a thumb injury that takes him out, and he still hasn't even played yet. Might play this week. We'll see. Sounds that way. But Bryson starts the first 4 games of the year and has already caught more passes this year than he did all of last year. Really playing at a high level. Tied for the team lead with 3 touchdowns among receivers. So really impactful guy. A unique physical specimen, 6'1", 205. For a receiver that's just a second year out of high school, very physically developed. So long term, there's a big role for him in this offense. Just as they get healthy, there's going to be a lot more guys that they're competing internally for snaps with because. Yeah. We talked to Gundy yesterday. It sounds like Bray is going to play this week.
Yeah, it sounds very positive for him. And so what do you do then with Bryson? What do you do with Bray? They're liking Stephon Johnson more. I don't know if that impacts him getting on the field. He's not going to redshirt, Gundy said yesterday too. So I don't know what you do with all these guys. That's a good problem to have. They didn't have this problem last year.
Right.
So they didn't have this problem 2 years ago.
Right, exactly.
So now you're so loaded there. It's great. But yeah, Bryson fascinates me too. But like I said, I want to see what happens when Jaden Bray gets back in the mix.
And they're similar but not really.
Yeah.
Bray is a little longer, a little more lanky.
Yeah.
They're really comfortable with him on the fade, the jump ball type situations. So I'll be curious to see how usage and necessity factors into all of this. How they want to use these guys.
Well, do you think they put them each on the field together near the goal line and say,
absolutely possible.
We're going to throw a fade to one of them,
right?
Throw a jump ball to one of them.
Yeah. You take your
see
pick.
what happens. That could be tough to defend if you're a defense. How do you do that?
Right. Especially if you're in a 4-wide situation.
Yeah.
And it's like you got some underneath guys. Where do you send the extra help?
You could slide Braden Johnson in the slot in that situation and really mess with some people. That could be fun. That could
absolutely.
be fun.
Yeah, it's receiver and defensive line, the depth that they're working with, the talent that they've got is just it's hard to even fathom right now. It's really impressive. All right, we're looking ahead to Tech. We talked a lot about it, but anything else that I talked to Caleb Etienne about kind of the challenge ahead because Mike Gundy talked about the variety of things that Texas Tech will do. Tyree Wilson is obviously.
I asked about Tyree Wilson too.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you have to say about
basically
him?
that he's preparing for him? He said he looks ahead to some of these defensive guys already and starts getting prepared. And he said he's a big physical guy. And then he didn't say a lot of insight about how he's going to do things or anything like that. But he's aware of them. OSU's completely aware of them, I think. But because this guy's a monster.
Yeah, he is. 6'6", 275.
He was at Media Days, right? He was the big guy at Media Days, right?
I don't remember. Was he there?
He was
might
there
have been.
because there was
Okay.
a huge specimen that was defensive end
Probably
at
so, then.
Texas Tech. I didn't talk to him, but that he's like, what, 6'6" and
275.
yeah, it's insane. So, him, and this one I want to talk to him about, but I'm writing about for tomorrow's paper on Dadrian Taylor Demerson. He's a safety for Texas Tech. Played at Carl Albert High School. High school fans would know him as Dadrian Taylor. He's since added a name to his last name. He's had a kid. He's changed positions. Went through all this, and he was teammates with Jason Taylor. So I wrote the story just kind of catching up with him and his journey because it's pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be his last game in Oklahoma because he plans on trying to go for the NFL to take care of his family and stuff. So that was fascinating too. But I don't know. He's not a guy that wows you right now in the secondary, but OSU's aware of him. But he's not a superstar yet, but he's got some talent.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of it is natural talent because this dude hardly played any defense at high school.
He didn't play it at all. He didn't like playing defense.
Right.
And I talked to Mike Corley, the old Carl Albert coach, who's still on staff but not the head coach anymore. It's kind of a weird way to word this. But anyways, talked to him, and he's like, we didn't need to play him. We had so much depth in the secondary. We needed to play him there. And so it just worked out. And then I thought he was crazy for going to make your position change at the Big 12 level in the secondary. Seemed like it was nuts, but it's worked out.
Yeah, it absolutely has. Do you want to talk about your pregame story, or you want to save that for the readers to?
We'll save that for the readers, but it's coming on Preston Wilson. So
going to be a fun one.
Yeah,
I'm looking
it'll be a
forward
fun
to
one.
it.
A little Texas Tech connection.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. Looking forward to that one. So, all right. With that, is it time to jump into our predictions?
I think it's our Stone Cloud six pack.
Stone Cloud six pack time.
We need a theme song or something.
Right, we
for
do.
this. The Stone Cloud six pack.
Right.
Da,
Exactly.
da, 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 da. I don't know.
Yeah. You're not picking the music.
Nope.
That's
Sure
all
not.
I'm saying.
Maybe Addison could pick the music for us.
There we go. Addison can handle that.
Yeah.
She is multi-talented.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We'll start. Pop the top on the first one. Over or under 5.5 catches for Brendan Presley this week.
What did he have last week? I forgot.
8 last week.
8. Okay.
He's been up and down.
He has been up and down
in terms of his
I'm
targets.
going over.
Going over 5.5.
I think they're going to make sure they get him involved against this crazy defense, this multiple looks, and if the pass rush is really going, they're going to need Brennan.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going over.
I'm going over as well.
Yeah.
There are times on this podcast that I'll just disagree with you just for the fun of it, but I can't even make myself do that this week because I had the exact same thought that getting the ball out quickly, hitting underneath is going to be really important this week. So I'm sticking with the over as well. 8 for what was it, 86 yards I believe last week.
He had a really good day.
Yeah, he did. Very productive, very important, and I think a lot of those type of throws are going to be crucial to keeping the offense on pace.
It feels like a Brendan Presley touchdown game to me.
I could see that.
It feels like a day he gets a touchdown.
Yeah,
but that's not the question. But it feels like a day he gets a touchdown.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, number 2, over or under 3.6 fourth down tries for Texas Tech. I went 3.6 because that's actually how many they're averaging per game. To this
over
point
or
in the
under that?
season.
I'm going over.
They love their fourth downs, man.
They love it more than Baylor, which
They
is
do.
hard to believe. But I think I'm going over because I think they're going to be in those situations they're going to need to convert fourth downs.
Mm-hmm. And the way I sort of heard it explained is basically if Joey McGuire gets into a situation where he feels like scoring is the only option, he would rather go for it on every fourth down and fail and lose by 40 than be conservative, punt, and lose by 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the.
This is not
thought
the Mike
process.
Gundy style of football, folks.
No, I thought it was very interesting what he said. I do remember the year that they got the program for the analytics. It was the same one that the Philadelphia Eagles used the year they won the Super Bowl when it was really just first becoming a popular thing. They got the same program. Went with they tried to use it. Obviously, the analytics program and Gundy's gut did not agree most of the time. It sounds like
I'd have loved to see that guy walking around tugging on Gundy's shirt. Like I just had this visual image of this little bitty guy, almost like a little kid with like this notebook. Like, sir,
Yeah.
you're supposed to go for it here,
Right.
sir,
Yeah.
sir. Sir.
Hey, go for it. Go for it.
Gundy's swatting him
Right.
around.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like the scene in Moneyball when they first meet Jonah Hill's character and they're like, who's this guy?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, our last one on the football side of things. We did this very early in the season, and I don't think we did it after the first game. Next interception for OSU, and it didn't happen until last week. So I don't even remember what we said after week 1.
Yeah.
But I don't think either one of us had Thomas Harper. So
No, we did not.
So who are you going with? So Kendall Daniels had one in the opener. Thomas Harper and Jason Taylor last week. Who is next in line for an INT for the Cowboys?
This is a tough one.
It is.
I'm going to go with Corey Black.
Corey Black.
Yeah, I think he's going to jump a route on the outside
All right.
and get one.
All right. I like that. I'm going back to Jason Taylor.
That's fair.
I think he's going 2 in
he
a row.
goes in bunches.
He can do
I
that.
picked Jason for a lot of things,
You
so
do,
I backed
yeah.
off.
Yeah,
So.
that's fair. That's absolutely fair. But yeah, I think they get a couple. I thought about doing over under like 2.5 interceptions for OSU this week.
Ooh,
I have a
that's-
feeling
that's
they're gonna rack some up this week.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I feel that way.
Yeah, they could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, very good. Moving on beyond football for the final 3 here in our Stone Class
This is our
6-pack.
draft style
Right,
fun.
draft style
Extravaganza.
This week, now this topic came up in the press box on Saturday. I don't even remember how or why.
I'll tell you how.
Okay, good.
Gundy talked about how the third quarter was like a video game
Ah, that's right.
on Saturday. And I got to thinking, what, sports video games.
Right.
What are our favorite sports video games?
Exactly.
Because I played a ton of sports video games growing up. I played them way more than any other kind of video game.
Oh, absolutely.
So this is going to be fun.
yeah.
I think
All
it's
right.
your turn to go first.
It's my turn
too.
to go first?
Yes.
All right. Right off the top, going to the most meaningful video game of my childhood, RBI Baseball 2.
Ooh,
Part
okay.
2. Part 1 was good. Part 2,
Yeah.
off the charts.
Okay.
This old Nintendo. Now,
Yeah.
before we go on, I'm a few years older than you, so I was right there for the heart of the original Nintendo.
I was too.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
I,
no,
could,
I
I wasn't
was too.
sure. I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
how much you would have played
Oh,
that.
yeah, I had an original
Okay.
Nintendo.
All right.
Yeah. So that's a good one. I never played RBI Baseball as much because I was still little.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't,
Right.
I had the Mario Duck Hunt, things like that.
Yeah.
But didn't play as much on that. There were Tecmo Bowl, which, might be picked later. So that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm. All right, what are you going with off the top? First pick.
Man, I'm going to have to go a little newer than that.
That's fair.
MVP Baseball 2005.
Okay.
First of all, it's like the first time a baseball game like really arrived to be like a legit baseball game.
Right.
Because
right.
now like MLB The Show is incredible. I love MLB
Right.
The Show now. It's so realistic. It's great. MVP was the closest thing to that in 2005. It had Manny Ramirez on the cover
Okay.
right at the Red Sox won the World Series. My college roommate, Deaton, and I had this game. I had the game for my PlayStation 2,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, it's PlayStation 2. We played it so much. You did so much. It was just the best game. The graphics were great. Everything about it was so great.
I can't argue with it. That was right in the sweet spot of the graphic emergence.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
It was
mind
really good area.
blowing that game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problems with that one at all. You've already alluded to this, so no surprise here. Tecmo Bowl is my
There you
next
go.
pick.
That's good. Bo Jackson was
Bo Jackson.
unstoppable.
So much fun, and
Yeah.
And Lawrence Taylor on defense was the same, but he was defense, so you didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't as exciting as Bo Jackson, but
Yeah.
you tried to. If somebody tried to block him, they just went flying in the air.
Yeah.
And,
It was
but
unreal.
yeah, I was absolutely obsessed with that. I liked Super Tecmo Bowl as well.
Yeah.
But the original, as reversing from my RBI preference, the original was where it was for me.
Yeah. It's good.
All right, what you going with number 2?
It's going to be the weird one. I actually talked about this in the press box. The Deion Sanders game on Sega
All right.
Genesis. I think it was called Primetime
Mhm.
Football. It was so good. It was not a Madden. It was not, I didn't really care for NFL Blitz as much on the Sega, but I loved the Primetime one. Deion Sanders obviously was incredible. The Cowboys were really good then. I've been a Cowboys fan my whole life, unfortunately. Deion Sanders, you could talk trash to people. You hit a button with like a defensive lineman, and he would literally just be like, he'd stand up and point and talk to people, and I never understood why. But it was so much fun to do that, and then you rush and go sack the guy.
Right.
It was great. It was so much fun. I played that game endlessly.
Yeah.
As I don't know, 10, 12 years old probably. I loved it so much.
Yeah. All right. My final one. I literally the list here takes up half my phone. I've got a huge list.
Oh man, I didn't make a list. I'm off the top of my head.
I had to make a list because I couldn't sort them out.
That's
I wanted to. I was going to pick Arch Rivals, an old Nintendo basketball game where you could punch guys.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't real players, but you could punch guys as you're running down the court. It led to an argument that actually got my Nintendo taken away. I was going to pick it just to tell that story, but I'll just tell the story anyway. NFL Blitz, the arcade version.
Right.
I worked at a movie theater in the late 90s. We had it in there.
Yeah.
Every time it was dead in there, I was over there playing NFL Blitz. Bill Walsh 95. Nobody really remembers this.
Oh, yeah.
It was a precursor to NCAA football.
Yeah.
I don't know why 95 was the one that we had, but I loved it. Gosh, there's so many old Nintendo games. I won't go through the whole list. I could talk about
you
this all
gotta
day.
pick one.
I got to pick one. I'm sticking with an old Nintendo game, though. I don't know why. All three picks are old Nintendo games.
Yeah.
I'm going with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, number 3.
That's a good one. I thought that's where you might go. That's a good one.
Yep.
I
I loved it. I had the code memorized for years. It's somehow gotten lost in my brain with all the other numbers that I've tried to memorize over the years.
I had some codes for some baseball games too where you automatically hit a home run.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like 550 feet. It was unreal. I don't think it was MVP, but it was something I had a code for. Yeah, I love when you got those codes.
Oh, yeah.
They don't do it anymore.
Yeah. No.
It's not fun. That's good.
Yeah. So much fun. It was just all of it was amazing. I still go back and play it regularly, but that's a different story.
My final pick.
Final pick.
I'm going NBA Jam.
That was on my list as well.
I love NBA Jam. It could be arcade.
Right.
It could be on Sega. It could be on, I don't know, PlayStation, whatever it was on.
Right.
NBA Jam was so cool. Just so cool. And I remember, was it Shaq and Penny together?
Right.
I used to just do that all the time, Shaq and Penny, because they were awesome. Then you had the Bulls, get Jordan and Pippen together on one of them, I think. And Jordan wasn't always on games.
Right.
Remember that. I don't know if people remember this. Michael Jordan was not always on games because I think the Players Association thing, he wouldn't sign off. Because I remember some games you'd have like a fake Michael Jordan.
Right. And he had his own. Remember Jordan versus Bird? You ever played that?
No, I never played that.
That was a good
I heard
one.
of it. And I remember like baseball games too. Barry Bonds sometimes wasn't on games.
Right.
He had a fake Barry Bonds that might bat right-handed that looked like Barry Bonds, and it was just bizarre. But
Big
I remember
giant head.
The NBA Jam with Michael Jordan was great. There was also an NBA Live. They had Michael Jordan on it once that I just killed everybody with Michael Jordan. But NBA Jam for me, watching someone get on fire and doing all the things you could do was so much fun.
Oh yeah, it was. It was a blast. It was very high on my list. NCAA football 06 was the first one where you could go recruit players.
Yep.
That was a big game changer.
We had that in my college house too.
Yep. Yeah.
I was always better at Madden than I was college NCAA.
Or I was the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was better, but I always preferred the college one. Being a baseball guy, there's two old random Nintendo baseball games. I'm curious if you ever played either one of them. Baseball Stars being the first one.
Baseball Stars, yes, pretty sure.
It was the first one that where you could create your own team.
Oh yeah. I think I used to create my little league team.
Yeah, you could play a game, win money to improve your team.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Of course, the Nintendo had no memory card, so it was like 50-50 whether it was going to save your team after you
memory
shut
cards
it
were the
off.
best invention.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The other one, Little League World Series Championship. Did you play the Little League baseball?
No.
Oh, it was really fun.
Oh man, I missed that one.
It was big time good. Me and my brother were obsessed with that one for a while.
Speaking of Madden, I had Madden my first year in college. I think it was Madden. It was 04 was my first semester, the fall of 04. So it was either 04 or 05. I feel like they always did it a year ahead.
Right.
For some reason. Anyways, played that one endlessly. It was the first time I really had that I could do it online too. So I started playing people all over the country online with my internet from school in my dorm room. And T.O. was on the Eagles, and people would get that and just burn you a T.O. all day, and McNabb. And that was a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Anything else? I think it's time to wrap up here.
No, I think I'm ready for some barbecue over here.
Yeah, I think it's time. The line has calmed down out there.
Yeah.
I think it's time to get out there and enjoy some barbecue. All right. Well, that will wrap it up for this edition of the Cowboy Chronicles. Thanks to those of you watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple, whichever one you're on, go put your score prediction in the comments. We will drink a beer in your honor next week. We appreciate all of you who are following along. We'll be coming to you on Twitter Spaces and on the podcast channel after the Texas Tech game on Saturday night. We're going to do it before midnight.
Get this fixed.
Before midnight, we'll have we'll have it done.
Yes.
It'll be the first time all season, but we promise we'll come through with that. Remember to subscribe to the Oklahoma State Cowboys Sports Minute at the Oklahoman, and of course don't forget about them here at Stone Cloud. Come over, take good care of them. 917 South Husband Street here in Stillwater. That will do it for this edition of the Cowboy Chronicles.